Dragon Ball Sparking Zero launched 3 months ago, reigniting nostalgia for the Tenkaichi series while modernizing it for today's gaming landscape. But has it lived up to its potential? Today we'll break down the highs, the lows, and everything in between as we explore its story mode, online multiplayer, character roster, and more. Let's start with Sparking Zero's story mode. On paper, it does what it set out to do. Summarize the Dragon Ball saga from the perspectives of a variety of characters. The what-if scenarios shine as highlights, offering creative and sometimes humorous alternate takes on iconic moments. Branching storylines kept things fresh as the character selection was solid, mostly. But here's where things start to falter. The repetition of certain story arcs makes playing through every character's mode a chore. For instance, playing as Goku, Gohan, and Vegeta often meant reliving the same beats with minor differences. And while we had some unique characters like Jiren, the absence of arcs like Dragon Ball GT felt glaring. Including SSJ4 Goku, Baby, and Pan without addressing their backstory was a missed opportunity. And let's not forget those brutally hard fights. If you thought Grade 8 Vegeta in the Saiyan Saga was tough in Tenkaichi 3, Sparking Zero cranks the difficulty even higher. Pair that with slideshow-style cutscenes which lack narration or polish, and you're left with a story mode that feels uneven despite its ambitious scope. Online multiplayer in Sparking Zero is where the game's potential truly shines and stumbles. When the stars align and you manage to find a match without connection issues, the gameplay is exhilarating. Battling players across the globe with Dragon Ball's unique brand of flashy combat feels like living out your childhood dreams. But those dreams are often interrupted by reality. Connection issues are rampant, with lag and sudden drops sabotaging ranked matches. Worse still, the lack of penalties for players who rage quit mean that many matches end with wasted time and no progress. Adding the frustration is the over-reliance on top-tier characters. Gogeta, Vegito, and other overpowered fighters dominate the online scene, creating a stale meta where variety is rare. The fun experimenting with different characters is overshadowed by the grind of facing the same few powerhouses over and over. The character roster in Sparking Zero is undeniably massive, featuring a whopping 182 fighters. From movie villains like Janemba to lesser-known side characters, the diversity is impressive. It's one of the game's strongest selling points. However, quantity doesn't always equal quality. A significant chunk of the roster consists of variations on the same characters. With 20 Gokus, 15 Vegetas, and 11 Gohans, the redundancy is hard to ignore. While transformations are a staple of Dragon Ball, dedicating so much of the roster to them feels excessive and dilutes the excitement of having such a large cast. The gameplay itself remains enjoyable. Combos are easy to pick up but hard to master, which is perfect for both newcomers and veterans of the Tenkaichi series. Training mode makes learning the basics a breeze, and story mode can be tackled with minimal frustration, at least until you face those infamously difficulty spikes. That said, controls can feel unresponsive, especially during more complex sequences. Moves you practice in training often fail to execute properly in high-pressure matches. This can make the combat feel clunky at times, leading many players to rely on simpler strategies. Then there are the maps. Reactive environments are a blast, immersing players in the over-the-top action of Dragon Ball. But the selection is disappointingly limited. Iconic locations like Muscle Tower, Hell, and Kami's Lookout are missing, and it feels like a step backward compared to previous titles. Finally, let's address the game modes, or lack thereof. Beyond story and online multiplayer, there's little else to explore. Gone are the beloved modes like Sim Dragon, Mission 100, or Survival. A legacy mode akin to Tekken's 5 inclusion of older games could have been a fantastic addition to celebrate the franchise's history. Instead, we were left with a sparse offering that limits replayability. As for balance, it's almost non-existent. The power disparity between characters is staggering, with some being nearly unbeatable and others essentially useless. While the Tenkaichi games have always leaned into a chaotic, unbalanced gameplay, the rise of online multiplayer has made the balance more important than ever. The argument that Sparking games are meant to be unbalanced doesn't hold up in today's competitive gaming landscape. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is a game that shows flashes of brilliance but struggles under the weight of its own ambitions. It captures the spirit of the Tenkaichi series but stumbles with technical issues, balance problems, and a lack of meaningful content. For fans of Dragon Ball, there's plenty to enjoy, but also plenty to be frustrated by. As we look to the future, there's hope that updates and patches can address some of these issues. But for now, Sparking Zero feels like a game with untapped potential, waiting to ascend to the next level.